This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Welcome to the Rise Up podcast. I am your host, Jonah Mitchell. And on this show, I try to help you rise up to your potential by taking everything that can slow you down when it comes to your health, your well-being, your fitness, and simplify it so that you realize how capable you really are and that you can live a happy and a healthy lifestyle without making it a lot harder on yourself. And I also get to bring on some pretty cool people who also love talking about how to make it a little bit simpler, and so that you can get out of your own way and actually get the results that you want. So today I am joined with Kaitlin. Kaitlin, how are you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing fucking fantastic now that I get to speak with you. It's freezing cold in Colorado, but I think you're on, where are you at again?
I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. So
okay. Yeah,
we
so
have
you're
very bipolar weather here. I used to live in Colorado. Last year, I was in your same boat. So I've just walked outside. I'm like, it's a 75-degree day in January.
Yeah, you're walking around with no sleeves, and I'm I'm sitting on top of a heater right now just to make sure I don't freeze in this office. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I'm really excited. I joined your team. Me and Kaitlin, we just kind of got to know each other like in the last 2 weeks now. Kind of been in the same circle for about a year or so, something like that.
Yeah.
But now we're on the same team together. We get to work together. It's been super fun, and we basically hit it off the second we started talking to each other. And I was like, we're getting on a podcast because we're gonna talk a lot, and so might as well.
Love talking.
Yeah, hopefully we can help somebody by what we're talking about. But tell the people listening a little bit about yourself. Who the fuck is Kaitlin?
Goodness, well. Gosh, I could go down a whole rabbit hole on this.
Go down the rabbit holes. This is the point of the podcast.
I'll tell you a little bit about my story, but essentially, I just love helping people. I love helping people get out of their own way because I stood in my own way for so long. And I mean, the healing journey, whether it be mentally, physically, it's a lifelong journey. And so it's something I still deal with. I still find myself standing my own way, and I have to sit here and use all the tactics that I use on my clients, on myself all the time. And that's the best kind of coach you can be, because you're living it, you're doing it, you're applying it, and then you help other people with it. So just a little bit of my backstory. I grew up on the coast of North Carolina here, super small little island, Outer Banks. A lot of people will probably be familiar with it as their vacation spot, especially if they're on the East Coast. So grew up in a pretty secluded little island, and have a couple of siblings, 2 sisters. I had 1 brother, and we kind of grew up in a rough way. Grew up in poverty, most definitely. And my dad was an alcoholic, and my mom had trouble with pill addiction. She had a couple surgeries, and they ended up immediately giving her what they do at the doctor's office. You go in, I don't feel good, here's your pills, here's your painkillers. And they did it a lot worse back in the day. Now that there's some awareness to it, it's not, it's still very much happening, but not like it was then. So she had the painkiller addiction there. And so I just come from a breed of addiction, all the way up the family tree. And so I was told from a young age, you can't drink, you can't do this, you're going to become addicted. I just had people in my head all the time telling me oh, you're going to be shit, that's very rough on a teenager. But when I was 8 years old, my parents were divorced, and I was 8, my mom passed away. And for the longest time, I didn't even know how or why. It's a very young age. Nobody's going to come up to an 8-year-old and be like, oh, your mom, she overdosed. And it was just the reality of the situation. It was an accident. But my dad just kind of went off the rails, lost his business, lost our house. We lived in a house with no heat. We lived off the fireplace heat, no power. It was rough. I could really go into that, but there was just a lot of mental abuse there. It was not good. And so when I turned about 15, that survival mode hit, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, even from that young of an age, I was hanging out with like not great kids, like smoking cigarettes, like I think I had my first hit of weed at 10, like crazy. So at 15, I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I'm not going to survive. So I ended up moving in with some family. That didn't work. I have a lot of crazy family members. I bounced around from house to house, from friend to friend, bad situation to bad situation, guy to guy, pill to pill, like freaking vodka to rum, like that was my life. And I saw that's how you coped. Like, that's how my whole family coped. Alcohol, booze, like, I don't know anything about health. Nobody told me anything about food. Like, I just ate the frozen stuff to survive, like the cheap frozen stuff from the grocery store. That's how I'm gonna live. And so just a lot of like rough stuff happened in that time, because I was essentially like, even for a time, I was homeless. I was like sleeping on my friend's cot in her like open underneath house, and like showering on the beach to go to work. And so it was just a really rough time, and all I knew is how to survive. And I didn't know who I was. I was like drowning in substances, like hanging out with terrible people. And I eventually like am the first person to go off to college in my family, and I want to say like years and years and years. And of course, I picked the most notorious party school there is, East Carolina University, if any of you guys are familiar, in North Carolina. And so I end up going there and partying some more, like hanging out with some more crappy people, eating more crappy food, not feeling very good. And, you know, I was never like overweight by any means, but if you're familiar with the term skinny fat, that was definitely me. Like, just didn't feel good. All I knew was like hungover life, you know, it wasn't good. So I ended up finding fitness. I think it was like my junior year in college. And I went back home to Outer Banks to work for the summer, and I worked at a gym called The Gym. It was a kickboxing gym. Couldn't pay me to work out. I was like, I'm just here to work the front desk. Like, not doing it. And a couple months in, I was just so bored sitting there. I finally was like, I'm gonna go try this machine out. Like, get over there. And I ended up started working out, and I shit you not, I didn't know that you could feel good like that. Like, I just thought life was feeling bad, like whether it be my circumstance, like how I was eating, how I was feeling, my constant hangover. Like, I just thought that this is what it was. Like, life sucks, you feel bad, these are my circumstances. And then as soon as those endorphins hit me, I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't know that life could be like this. So I ended up finding fitness in that aspect. And I think it was my senior year of college. This was a couple years after I lost my brother to suicide. So it was just my need to want to help people increase. Like, even though I was going through all these shitty struggles, the more struggle I went through and kind of got through, I would like find myself trying to help people through similar struggles around me, because everyone was struggling around me. So my senior year, I decided, like, if I don't leave this town, I'm not going to make it. Like, just came back from college, went straight back into Xanax was my drug of choice. So straight back into that, alcohol. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I ended up having a friend. She was like, I have a room for you here, Wilmington, where I live now. And little by little, like, of course, fell into partying here, but little by little, like, fell in love with fitness, like, really fell in love with that feeling. And I actually ended up training with one of our other coaches, Coach Jordan. She was my personal trainer. And now my very best friend, my maid of honor in my wedding, has made she's made such a huge impact in my life. And like, I just think it's also so cool we get to do this together. But I ended up hanging out with her, like taking on in her influence. This is kind of a classic case of change your environment, change your life, change the people you're surrounded with, you know, change those habits. But I was at a point in my fitness journey where I just felt my workouts felt terrible. Like, I was like crying in my workouts because I just didn't feel good. They were so rough on me. I was not recovering. And she's like, you know, you kind of eat like shit. Like, I'm sure she said it in a nicer way because she's as sweet as can be. But I was eating like I grew up. I was still eating like garbage. I was still going out and drinking on the weekends. Like that was still kind of my lifestyle. I was in the serving industry. So that's what you do. You get off work, have a shift beer. Like I'm sure if you've ever been in service, you're familiar with that kind of crowd as well. But she helped me clean up my diet. She like was my true first role model in nutrition, where I like learned how to eat for my body. I learned how to eat enough food. I got into the best shape of my life. And so all the physical stuff came there. But as you know, with your background and you imagine, there's all the mental stuff that you have to deal with, because you can still be in that place of, well, like everything's happening to me and my life sucks. And it's very easy to go back into that place when that's where you've come from. So yeah, I ended up meeting my fiance. We, after a year, moved to Colorado together. And we spent a good 5 years there. But when I moved there, I didn't have anybody. Like I didn't have friends, I didn't have family, and I didn't have the influences that I used to have. I didn't have the people that I was going out to drink with all the time, and the people that were like feeding off my low confidence. And people will do that. Like narcissists latch onto people with low confidence and just beat you down. They love that stuff. And that was who I was surrounded by. So when I moved to Colorado, I had me. And I sat there and I said, oh shit. Like that was probably one of the scariest times in my life, because I was like, I gotta figure all this out now. Like this is all just here staring me in the face. And so took years and years of work, but I ended up also like finding my groove and joined a coaching school there. I did IIN and I loved it. It's more of a holistic style coaching school. I really, really, really got a lot out of it. And I actually did it more for me. I didn't go in being like, I want to be a coach. I was like, I need more work. Like I need to get better. And so I did it. And I was like, shit, like I love this. Like all I ever want to do is make sure nobody has to feel the way I felt in all of those years with those people and those situations and my food and like my mindset. I don't want people to have to do that. And I will do anything to make sure they don't, like if they come across my path. So ended up, graduating from that, started my own little coaching business for a bit. Turns out your girl sucks at marketing. she's not a sales girl. And so came across Transformation Project, and I mean, it was really scary joining, because I was like, cool, I'm gonna quit my cushy corporate job and my, pay and benefits, and I'm gonna dive straight into this passion of mine. And I'm either gonna, fly or fail, but at least I tried. And so it's just been the most awesome couple months, because I've learned and grown in so many different ways and been able to help so many different people. And I can just wholeheartedly like look around now and be like, I can't freaking believe I get to do this with my days. So it's been awesome. And then I get to meet awesome people like you.
Oh, stop it right now. Yeah, I appreciate it. That's really cool. I think that's why we bonded so quickly. Like we have very similar stories when it comes to the mental space. Like mine, I've talked about it a few times, but there was physical and mental abuse in my household. And, when we're born, we're not born to be evil, angry, sad creatures. Yeah. We are just constantly absorbing information, trying to pay attention to what are the rules of survival here. And if you grow up in an environment that is toxic and doesn't allow you to grow and be yourself, and is constantly pushing you down, you learn to behave in those ways. You learn that that's how you get by, right? Yeah. And your inner personal, your true self gets a little bit, suppressed. Actually, not even a little bit, a lot of it suppressed. Oh, yeah. And you go through life doing things that don't genuinely align with you, but you don't know that. You're not aware of that. You just agree that this is how it goes. And for me, I was raised by a narcissistic mom, my father's in jail for prison. My biological father's in jail for prison. I had a stepdad who was physically and verbally abusive to me and my family. And, I learned, well, relationships, you're supposed to be the narcissist and you're supposed to rule with an iron fist. Luckily I wasn't abusive, but I had lots of narcissistic tendencies. It's always the other person's fault, always their fault, right? It's their problem, not mine. And as I'm kind of we're going down a rabbit hole here. It's all correlated. It's all correlated, right? There was a time where that pattern for me got interrupted, and that's when I started dating my current wife, Hannah. Most the women I dated kind of allowed me to be a narcissist, and I wasn't aware. I didn't know, right? It wasn't until like someone actually like put their hand up and stopped me in my tracks, and like literally my brain got stuck. I was like, wait, this is not how this is supposed to go. This is wrong. Like not wrong as in what I'm doing, but like this isn't supposed to happen. And that like made me actually question, oh fuck, it's me. Oh, I'm the problem. Shit. But one of my favorite sayings, I don't know if anyone says this, but I say it a lot, is that when you realize you're the problem, you become the ultimate solution. Because now you can pay attention to how you react to scenarios, how you behave in scenarios. And this applies not only into your general life, but your behaviors when it comes to your physical health, right? You may have learned that weight loss, fat loss, body composition, anything that involves your health journey is supposed to be this miserable, cut out everything you love, sacrifice all the things, be super disciplined, and that doesn't align with how you want to live. So how the fuck are you supposed to sustain that for the long run? Because inside you're always fighting against it, and you're like, why is this so frustrating? Like, I know what I should be doing, but I don't want to do it because it makes me feel even worse. It's like this never ending rabbit hole until we slow down and actually realize, oh, I've been doing this wrong. Right. And then once you start to take a step back, and some of us who go through these journeys for ourselves, we're like, fuck, that awakening moment, be like, I don't want anyone to feel like that. We kind of turn it and want to help other people do the same. Right. Because it's so much better on the other side.
Let me tell you what, like, with all that being said, it's funny because I never went into coaching being like, ooh, I need to help people with their calories, and like, I need to help people with their food. The one thing I could give somebody who is on any type of journey, a fitness journey, healing journey, whatever, is you have to find the joy in the process. And like, my joy is my favorite word for this reason, because if you, just like you said, if you're going through it doing things that don't align with you, or like you're eating foods that you hate, or you're like doing workouts that you hate, or you're in a job that you hate, or with a person that you hate, like, it's not going to get any better. Even if you get those 6-pack abs, you're going to still look around and be like, what am I missing? It's not good enough.
Awkwardly raises his own hand.
You have to find the joy in you have to find the joy in your life. And if you can build habits that bring you genuine joy and make you feel good, you're going to be able to do it forever. Like, truly. That's the secret sauce.
That's literally it. Right. And I hope anyone who's just now listening to the podcast, like, isn't disappointed that it's not like just a cheat code, but it's just like, oh, I just have to do the thing and like what I'm doing. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Unfortunately. Right. But it's not sexy to talk about that. And really, it's not sexy to talk about the mental barriers and hurdles you have to go through first. Right. Yeah. To get there. Because the mechanical, one of my favorite things, I'm not the best at marketing either, especially with one of my first like big marketing debacles. Like, one of my old sayings was my podcast used to be the Fat Loss is Easy podcast. Because my whole shtick was, I make fat loss easy. And I genuinely believed that, because I wasn't aware of what I did to make it easy. I just knew that the byproduct of how I was coaching people allowed fat loss and weight loss to become a lot easier. And what that secret sauce was addressing the actual problems the person is facing that are going on between their ears, right? So, like we talked about, it takes a lot of awareness, right? And your story, we can go back and forth with our stories, but when it comes to changing somebody's behavior and helping them be aware of they're not actually making the most aligned decisions, how do you help them? How do you start to point things out for them so they can start seeing the true path and not just calories, workouts, and physical results? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's essentially where I start, and it kind of stops some people in their tracks, because I'm like, well, if you don't like what you're doing, and if you don't like yourself, like, you want to get to 120, let's get there. But if you don't like yourself at 120, then what? What do? You keep shrinking yourself down and down and down. Yeah. So I really like to listen to people's wordage and verbiage because they'll say it to you. They'll like, I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. I have to do this, this, and this, even though it sucks and I hate it. And I'm like, do you know? Like, is that really what you have
Says
to
who? Who said you have to do that thing that you think you have to do, right?
Absolutely. But in all honesty, like I really start to try to pull out what makes those people happy. I'm like, I just want to know what makes you happy, what makes you tick. Because if you look around, so many people are so unhappy. And it's not just because they don't like the way they look, they don't like a lot of shit about their lives. And so if you're trying to target, well, when I lose weight, all this shit will be better, opposite, vice versa. Like, take a look around. And sometimes I'll use a tool that I got in IIN. It's called the Circle of Life. And it's like everything from your relationships to your finances to your home cooking to your weight to it's all so interconnected. I'll say, I want you to rate all these things. And I want you to tell me what your satisfaction is with each one of these things. And you'll see like a lot of correlations there. And so I'm like, cool, let's work on your just pure relationship with you, like doing joy in these aspects, and they'll do these, and then all the health stuff will start to get better too. And it's like, it's just crazy to see how when they re-rate it, like 3 months later, I'll have them do it a couple months later, and they're like, I can't believe this is like up, and all I did was work on this. And I'm like, like, are you working on your environment? Like, did you break up with that really shitty dude that you were dating? And now suddenly life is a little bit easier. Like, a lot of these things just really come down to, one, your environmental factors, but two, it's your mindset. And if you're coming from a place of, well, everything sucks, like everything's negative, if you wake up every day and be like, shit, like another Tuesday, fuck this, it's going to be another Tuesday that you hate. And the more that you keep telling yourself things sucks and the more negativity that you breathe, the more it will just become your innate nature. And rewiring that to positivity and gratitude and really falling in love with yourself, very hard, like way harder than weight loss. But if you're stuck in that victim mentality where it's like, shit, like I'm overweight and this is just what happens to me, and you know, I'm in a job I hate and this is just my life and this is everything's happening to me. Like the moment I started like writing down, like, this is what's happening for me, you switch that mindset and you're like, what can I learn from this? What can I take from this? How can I get better from this? Because in true reality, your hardest life circumstances are there to make you the best version of yourself, to lift you up, those are your biggest learning moments. Imagine I just had the nice cushy life and nothing terrible ever happened to me and everything was great. I wouldn't be able to help people as well as I get to help people now. And I could sit here and say, well, damn, like I have family members passing away and I was on drugs and my dad, like he's all fucked up and I just had this terrible upbringing, and you know what, this everything sucks and my life sucks and I was born into suckery. Or I could turn around and say, damn, that sucked, but like, here's what I can do to be better every single day and help anybody who's struggling with that type of pain become the best version of themselves. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You enter the world yourself, you leave yourself. So it's very hard for people to accept that and put themselves first in that aspect.
It's so true. And you know, you hit the fucking nail on the head. That's the actual hard part about weight loss, is like the mechanical side of weight loss is pretty fucking easy. Like we said, like just show up consistently and do it more often than not. Right. That's 80 to 90% of what you got to do. Right. Yeah. There's details around that, but still getting to that point of rewiring how you've been thinking for the vast majority of your life. That's the challenge, because every step, and there's a biological reason for that, right? We inherently hate change. So once we get accustomed to something, that's it. That's okay. This is what I know. This is what I can expect, right? Because our body's number one goal is to just keep us alive. That's it. And it can do that much better when it knows what to expect. If it knows that, you know, things are things are shitty and that's how they're going to be, cool. If things get better, right? That's new. That's different. It's scared. How long is it going to last? It's horrifying, right? It's like, wait, I don't know this, right? And that's like a biological response in your brain that, hey, this is dangerous, even though it's not, right? Try as hard as we might, our brains may be living in 2023. Our bodies are still very primitive and still constantly revert back to survival tendencies. And it comes out in our emotional responses and our behaviors. And it's not only about knowing what you want, knowing what to do. It's about understanding how you react to the everything that happens around you, and learning which part of you is actually reacting. Is it the real you who wants to take the steps to improve their life and feel better? Or is it the survival you that's just been driving the bus and that's like, hey, you know what? I know you don't feel that great, but I know what's best for us because I want to keep you alive. But then it's like this counterintuitive thing that it constantly makes us do shitty stuff. And it makes, and this is the frustrating cycle. Like, well, I know what I should be doing, but I have a hard time doing it. We're fighting so many other aspects other than just do the thing. Right.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I love saying, and I think you would agree with this, is learning how to make the most aligned decision. Right. Mm-hmm. And that does not mean the healthiest decision, right? Because getting out of this victim mindset, right? That's you making a survival choice a lot. It's like, everything happens to me. This is suck, suck, suck. So I make survival choices instead of aligned choices. Yeah. So before I do my whole deep spiel about that, hearing that, what do you start thinking of when I say aligned decision for the person?
You really have to, and people have such a hard time with this. You have to stop and think, what do I need? Because a lot of the times people, especially like, you're an adult now, right? You got kids, you got a job. Well, not you, but most of my clients, listen, I feel you. Most of our center are an adult now. We got kids, we got dogs, we got animals, we got jobs, and it's wired into our brain to be like, what do they need? What do they need? What do they need? I've for so long just put myself on the back burner, and I could go down a whole rabbit hole of that, but stopping to think, what do I need? And people don't stop to do that for themselves because it's just been this, put people before you, but also when it comes down to that victim mindset, stuff just happens to me. When you start to think like, ooh, wait, like, I am the adult now. Like, I can actually control what happens to me via my actions, via making aligned decisions. But what does alignment mean for me? What do I need? Who am I? What makes me thrive? That's a hard question to ask yourself. It's hard to be nice to yourself. People's minds, they go to the negative immediately. Like, I'm telling you, immediately, like, you ever, when you start out with a new client and they're like, I'm so pissed, like, I'm so far gone, I'm so pissed at myself, I wake up every day and I look at the mirror and I say, damn, you suck, like, I can't believe you got this overweight. People aren't nice to themselves, and they don't put themselves first, and they don't ask themselves what they need. They just let life happen to them, and it doesn't have to be that way,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing, is they don't check in. Right. Yeah. Especially now that the holidays are over. Right. I don't know when this one's going to come out, but we're recording this on January 5th. Right. That is such a tough time because, one, it's already chaotic enough to handle the energy of your family, and especially for the caregivers of the families to always, make sure they're taken care of, make sure everyone's got enough places to sit. Right. Everyone's going to have enough food they're going to like their Christmas gifts. And then it's like just this constant juggle of perpetually giving yourself to other people over and over and over again, that you are not even on the totem pole. You're like below the ground on the totem pole. Right. And we've been taught that selfishness is a bad thing, right? That you're so selfless that like everyone around you is always taken care of. But when you lack the ability to take care of yourself in these states and not know how to make the best decision and check in and with what you need, it's so hard to get to where you want to go, because those decisions, those beliefs that you have will continue to keep you below ground on the totem pole order, right? You don't see yourself as important as the other people that you continue to stack on top of yourself, right? So when you slow down and check in, like, do I actually want this bag of chips right now? Maybe. Yes. Okay. Allow yourself to have it. You don't need to beat yourself up for it because you checked in. You actually made the decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like you're going through that process again. Do I actually want this bag of chips right now? And no, I'm really fucking stressed. I've just had a lot of shit going on, and I hope I'm using this to hopefully feel a little bit better. But like, are you going to feel better if you eat a whole bag of chips?
Probably worse.
Probably worse, right? We think we're going to solve one problem, but then we're going to create multiple problems afterwards. So then you check in yourself like, okay, I don't think this is going to actually solve my stress problem. So how would I like to spend my time? I'll go play with my dogs, go hang out with my wife or spouse or anything. And that's the type of process that you're talking about, is that checking in process. Then when you actually make the decision, it's your decision. Right. Yeah. You gave yourself that time to actually process instead of reactively thinking like, this is going to help me solve the problem. And then you do it and you're like, I feel so much worse. Why did I do that? And then you're kicking yourself down the road even more. And it's just like this shitty cycle. And that's the hard part. This is that's once we get over this process, everything gets so much easier, but it's hard.
I can guarantee you, this is for any of my people out there. You're listening to this and they're like, that's me. I put myself last. I just have to take such good care of everybody else around me. I guarantee you're not taking as good of care as those people and showing up for those people how you think you are. Are you showing up on a day-to-day like in a bad mood, cranky, snapping at people, but you're still taking care of them? I would rather you just not. I would rather do it myself, and you go to do your thing and show up as a better version of you, not only for you but the people around you. Because we think like we're doing this thing, we're playing superhero, like we're showing up for all these other people. But if you like stop to think about it, if you're not showing up as the best version of yourself for you, you're totally not doing it for them either.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's start helping these people who are the caregivers that never put themselves first. Where does it start? How can they start paying attention to this?
The babiest of steps. The babiest of steps. This really, really, really just comes in the form of awareness. Like that check-in, it's almost like a little bit of it, because you, with the mindfulness piece of checking with food and things like that, starting to kind of come to a place where you're able to care for yourself a little bit better and put yourself first. It comes from a little bit deeper form of check-in. What's not working for me right now? Truly, in all honesty, what's not working for me right now? And it can come from that smallest place of, well, like I'm doing, so funny. I literally just talked to a client about this. You know what I told her to do? I said, all I want you to do is a chore chart this week. Delegation, like what in your life isn't working for you, whatever it may be, and what is the smallest step that needs to happen to make that change? How can you free up, whether it be the time, money, I don't know, whatever it may be that you're needing, how can you free that up a little bit to put yourself a little bit higher on the totem pole? What can you do? It's really that deep check-in, and people they don't like to do that. They're like, well, I'm on the go, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So I would highly recommend just doing that check-in and just starting from the smallest place you can, and let yourself get that small victory. People think if they don't change everything in a day, if they're not eating 3 square, beautiful protein-filled meals a day, then they have failed. If one of your biggest struggles right now is with food, is that you purely just like, maybe you're skipping breakfast, can you grab an apple for breakfast? When? Like, let it be that small and keep stacking onto those habits for yourself.
It's so underrated how small things, small little changes can exponentially grow, right? And I mean exponentially, right? Like, and that shit amplifies. Whereas we think if we make drastic change all at once, we see results faster. When in reality, you open the door for more possible things to knock you off the path, right? Yeah. If you don't first start by teaching your brain, your psyche, that you can be consistent in some small way, what makes you think that you can do everything all the time, all at once, while still upholding all the obligations and the tasks that you have to do for other people? Yeah. If you aren't on the totem pole, doing 12 things every single day is going to be really fucking difficult. When it's only 1 or 2 things and they're very small. Like I love telling the story. I had one client who struggled with weight loss her entire life, right? She's almost 60, right? And she had been through every weight loss program, and had done everything in the book she lost weight, gained it all back, right? So when she met me, I told her that I'm going to teach her how to eat more to lose weight. She was like, the hell's wrong with you? Well, what? There's no fucking way. You're a goddamn liar. And then when we actually signed, when somehow I convinced her, to sign on, I told her the only thing I need you to focus on for the next week is getting one vegetable in your diet. And she looked at me just like, wait, you told me you're going to make me eat more, and all you're having me do is eat one vegetable. I was like, that is literally it. Because based off of everything that she told me when we were first starting, she never took care of herself, and everything she tried was super all or nothing. So I was like, cool. We need to teach you how to take care of yourself and show that the acts of care don't have to be drastic. They just be small. Because that one vegetable turned into 2 by week 2. Then by week 3, it was 3 vegetables. Week 4, it was fruit and the vegetables. Week 5, it was 2 fruits. And she was like, I feel really good right now just doing those things. It took 5 weeks to do that, right? We're not focusing on weight loss. We're focusing on helping her build herself up. We worked together for a year. And she said, this is going to take so long. I don't know what's going on. A year goes by. She's like, I lost 25 pounds and I didn't do anything crazy. I'm eating more food than I thought I could. And it's like, where did this start? By eating one vegetable.
Yeah. And I think people get so caught up in like, what the next door neighbor's doing down the street. They're doing keto. They're exercising 6 days a week. They lost 40 pounds this month. And you have to keep in mind, you are an individual. You have a completely different lifestyle. Some people may have, the leniency of working out 6 days a week, super cushy at-home job. You might have 3 kids, 2 dogs, a very demanding career. And so you have to keep that in mind when we're stacking these habits and becoming aware of like what we need to do is like what may work for that person is probably not going to work for you. And we have to start giving ourselves a little bit of kindness and grace there, because it goes to the point of that mindset piece. I'm beat myself up. I suck. I'm going to go all in and do this thing that I saw work for Karen down the street, and it's going to work for me too. And we're completely different people, completely different lifestyles. I fall off day 2 because there's no effing way. Like, I have no energy to do all of this. So like you said, just those little habits that stack up. Like, you learn to be consistent for yourself. You learn to eat the freaking one vegetable every day. Watch how it blossoms in a year. It's awesome to see. And people don't believe it, but
they're always shocked. They're like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the real secret. But just to kind of bring it all back together, it's all tied together, right? If it's your weight that you're trying to change, start with one small thing. If it's your environment, your relationships, start with one small thing. I mean, we didn't even touch on it, but this is practicing boundaries.
Oh yeah.
Like making that time for yourself and with the intention to add a vegetable, that's a boundary, right? Boundaries can expand. Setting boundaries with people, it's really fucking difficult, right? But if you learn how to build yourself up to those things by small changes first, you start to build that confidence, right? Yeah. Just as something that you've talked about is, as you started to get into it and you started to fall into these things, you were just trying to learn more and more how to help yourself, right? And it started with one simple thing. You didn't even have the intention of exercising when you joined your first gym, right? But then you were like, I'll give it a shot. Why not? Just one workout. You're like, oh my God, this is what it feels like? What? Not this miserable thing? Holy shit. And then it just kept going from there, right? You didn't know it all, but you just kind of fell onto it, and then you latched to the idea that you can feel a little bit better, right? Agree to that. If you can feel a little bit better, you can go as far as you want, because then you start actually getting out of your way, right?
It's very easy to get discouraged when you're trying to do a bunch of new things at once. The reality of it is, if you're trying something new, you're going to suck. You're going to suck at it, and then you're going to suck a little less, and then you're going to suck a little less, and then you'll get really good at it. Like, anything ever that I've done in my life, I have freaking sucked at. And you know what's the easy thing to do? Quit. That's the easiest thing you can do. if you can push through that little bit of discomfort, if you feel discomfort and adding that one vegetable in your meal a day and you're like, I don't know about this, and then look a year later, like I'm sure when you gave that to your client, she felt a little bit of discomfort. She's like, is this enough? Like, I don't know, this isn't gonna do shit for me. That's how it starts. Push past that initial discomfort, do the thing, keep doing the things. Even if you suck, you will eventually get good at them. You'll look back a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, and you will be living the life that you want to live. You'll be the person that you want to be if you make those choices that align with that person.
That person, the person that you want to be, right?
Yes.
Not the person who you currently are. Because why you're in this state of discomfort right now is because you've been behaving in a way that doesn't actually align with you, right? And pushing beyond that discomfort of like, this is different, this is new, is actually going to open the door and the door of possibilities. And you said, in a year to 3 years, you could have a completely different life. And people say that takes so long, but really, has it? Like, if you struggled with
last 3 years look like?
Exactly, like that didn't last. That didn't feel like it lasted a very long time, did it? Or how has your entire like people who struggle with their self-image, their body, and their weight, their whole lives, right? 40 plus years against 6 months of you slowing down and paying attention to feeling better, right? You're fighting a lot of these things, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But as long as you keep progressing and making these small mental shifts, the physical will come, and not only they'll come, they'll last. It's not like keto, and keto has its place, but keto is like, cut all your carbs, lose 20 pounds in a month. Yay. I really want carbs, gain all the 20 pounds back. Fuck. And now it's carbs are the reason why, not me. It's the carbs. Anyway, this is like, before we get, it's a whole nother fucking podcast. And don't even get me started about keto. God damn it. So I have one more question. Well, I always say that one more. I have a couple more questions. Are there any resources that really helped you that you'd like to share with anyone listening on this show?
Lucky for you, I have one right here.
Hell yeah.
This is just a small one, and it may seem like so silly because when you a lot of people are coming in for a weight loss journey, a physical journey, I swear to you, it starts in the head. I was gifted this lovely little, it's called 2-minute mornings, or journal to win your day every day. This little guy, the most simple thing. I have a lot of people that are like, I'm not into writing, but it's all it says, I will let go of what I'm grateful for, what I will focus on. 2 minutes to reframe your entire little mindset in the morning and make it the day that you want to make it. Second, I'm big with like writing and journaling and stuff. You can do it in whatever way you want, but I have a life design planner. And every single month I go through and I reassess. If you have a goal that you're working towards, I reassess. What is my goal for the year? How does that translate for the quarter? What does that mean I need to do this month? And how can I break that down weekly? This is going to help you if you are somebody who wants to do everything right now. You said, all right, this month, dry January. I'm not drinking. I'm eating 3 square meals a day. I'm in the gym 6 days a week. Think about how realistic that sounds, especially if you're like a busy person like most of us are. Breaking down those littler goals. You can even have your own freaking sheet of paper, save some money, like just write it down in that exact format, getting clear on what you're doing, where you're headed, and how you can do that in the most small, sustainable way. I swear, I was like, it changed my life. And it's not like, oh, I did the journal, like my life's changed this week. You're going to look back a couple months from now and be like, oh shit, like I'm reflecting, like I'm starting my day with positivity instead of negativity. I'm getting clear on my goals. I have direction. I know how to do it in small, sustainable steps. It is the complete game changer. And so just a couple of resources that I would definitely recommend there that have immensely helped me, especially like if you have squirrel brain like me, my ADHD, my freaking brain's bouncing around everywhere. It's like very much helps keep me organized.
That's awesome. I'm a huge advocate for journaling. It's such a great way to help focus your thoughts, because if we let them run rampant in our mind, it will attach to everything. So if you're stressed, right? And you already have a hard time like keeping focus, and your brain's always bouncing from thing to thing. You're going to naturally pinpoint everything else that's already stressful, everything. So the stress becomes amplified. And if you were to slow down and just like, what am I actually stressed about? Right? Your brain slows down and focuses, and then you could detach from that and be like, huh, I guess I don't need to be freaking about every little thing, just one thing. Right.
Yeah.
And then it allows you to kind of clear up that process. And I love both of those. I'm going to get that little yellow one.
It's amazing.
That one's cool. I love that. 2 minutes. You can show up for anything for 2 minutes. Like seriously.
Like I'm the girl that like starts to take the laundry out of the dryer and then sees there's dishes to do and then leaves it there, and like so it helps because it's just so simple, but just a simple mindset reframe makes all the difference.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. So my last question for you, hopefully, as long as I don't think of another one, where can people find you, Kaitlin?
Oh my gosh, they can find me on the gram. I gotta remember my own handle.
You don't know it off the top of your head?
I don't know if it's 2 T's or 1. You can find me on Instagram, Kaitnix, Kaitnixx. I'm also on Facebook, just regular old Kaitlin Nixon. And then I have a TikTok, but I don't really use it a ton. But maybe if you guys follow me, I'll get on there a little bit more. But TikTok, it's Kaitnixx. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is an absolute blast. It's always good to hear more people talking about what I talk about. So like, I'm not crazy talking about what I talk about.
Only a little crazy.
But yeah, I appreciate you very much. And I know it's going to help a lot of people. So you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.